The impossible repair. The repair queue at Station Horizon 9 stretched nearly 2 light minutes into space, a glittering chain of vessels from 100 different worlds. Chief Engineer Sarah Chen watched through the station's observation dome as the latest arrival limped toward them. A massive Zalthuri warship, its crystalline hull fractured in ways that made her fingers itch to start working. Another one that's been turned away by the Centaurians, her second in command, James Rodriguez, said as he handed her a steaming cup of coffee. Their repair matrix shows it as 98% unsalvageable. Sarah snorted, her black hair streaked with premature gray falling across her eyes as she leaned forward to study the approaching vessel. 98% unsalvageable just means nobody's tried the 2% solution yet. The Zalthuri warship's damage looked catastrophic. Its biocrystalline hull, normally a seamless lattice of living crystal, had shattered along its port side. Energy leaked from the wounds in prismatic waves, a sight that would have sent most repair stations into immediate lockdown. Station control to Chief Chen, her comm crackled. The Zalthuri captain is requesting emergency docking clearance. 3 other stations have declared the ship beyond repair. Sarah tapped her comm. Grant them priority clearance to Bay 7, and get me everything we have on Zalthuri crystalline technology. As she strode toward the repair bay, her team fell in behind her. They were an odd bunch by galactic standards, engineers who kept ancient Earth tools alongside quantum manipulators, mechanics who learned their trade fixing combustion engines before touching their first fusion drive. The Zalthuri ship's captain met them at the airlock, his crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns that signaled distress. Chief Engineer Chen, he chimed, his translator converting the light patterns to speech. I am Captain Zero. We have traveled 60 parsecs to reach your station. The others said. The others said it couldn't be fixed. Sarah finished, already walking around the damaged section. Tell me how it happened. Quantum mine left over from the Duraxian conflict. We thought we'd cleared the sector, but his lights dimmed. The blast shattered our living crystal matrix. Without it, we cannot maintain hull integrity. Sarah nodded, her hand running along the fractured crystal. Where other engineers saw only catastrophic damage, she saw patterns, the way the crystal had shattered, the lingering energy signatures, the subtle shifts in the matrix. Rodriguez, she called, remember that research paper about crystalline repair in Earth's deep-sea thermal vents. James grinned. The one about how pressure and heat can force crystalline structures to realign. Already pulling up the data. Chief. Maya. Sarah turned to her materials specialist. Get me those samples of Europan ice crystal we've been experimenting with. And someone find Dr. Petal. We're going to need his expertise in biological matrices. The Zalthuri captain's lights flickered in confusion. These are primitive materials. Our crystal technology is far more advanced than anything Earth has produced. Sarah smiled. Probably. But we humans didn't start with advanced technology, Captain. We started with understanding how things work at their most basic level. Your ship's crystal matrix isn't just technology, it's alive. And living things have been healing themselves long before any of us invented space travel. Over the next several hours, Sarah's team worked in a carefully choreographed dance. Dr. Patel, a xenobiologist turned engineer, mapped the living crystal's neural patterns. Maya adapted the Europan ice crystal growing techniques to match the Zalthuri matrix. Rodriguez calculated pressure and temperature requirements that would make most safety officers faint. This is highly irregular, Captain Zirl observed as Sarah's team constructed what looked like a primitive pressure chamber around the damaged section. Our repair protocols specifically state, with all due respect, Captain, Sarah interrupted, checking the seal on her environment suit. Your repair protocols were written by engineers who've never had to fix a quantum drive with duct tape and paper clips. Sometimes the old ways work best. The pressure chamber hummed to life, filling with a specially formulated solution that made the damaged crystals resonate at their natural frequency. Sarah worked by feel as much as by scanner readings, adjusting temperatures and pressures in tiny increments. She learned this kind of patience in her grandmother's workshop, watching her repair delicate antique clockworks. Hours passed. The crystal matrix slowly began to respond, new growth spreading from the edges of the damage like frost across a window. Where the advanced repair stations had seen only destruction, Sarah's team had found the spark of life that remained and gave it the conditions it needed to heal itself. Impossible. Captain Zero whispered as the hull began to seal itself, the living crystal growing stronger by the minute. His light patterns shifted to colors Sarah had never seen before. How did you know this would work? Sarah watched as the last fragments of crystal aligned themselves, the matrix humming with renewed energy. Because sometimes the most advanced solution is remembering the basics. Your ship's crystal matrix follows the same principles as every other crystal in the universe. We just had to remind it how to grow. As word of the repair spread through the station, more alien engineers gathered to observe. They watched in amazement as Sarah's team combined primitive Earth techniques with advanced alien technology, creating something new in the process. You'll want to take it easy for the first few light years, Sarah told Captain Zuril as her team began removing the pressure chamber. The new growth needs time to fully integrate, but she'll be stronger than before. The matrix has adapted, learned from the damage. The captain's lights pulsed with what Sarah had learned to recognize as deep respect. You humans, you see things differently than any species I've encountered. You treat our most advanced technology like it's both simpler and more complex than we imagine. Sarah smiled, running her hand along the newly healed crystal hull. That's because we remember what it's like to start from scratch, Captain. Every piece of technology, no matter how advanced, follows the basic rules of the universe. Sometimes you have to step back to the beginning to find the right way forward. As the Zalthuri warship departed, its crystal hull gleaming with new strength, Sarah watched from the observation dome. The repair crew still stretched into space, ships waiting for the humans who approached advanced technology with old world wisdom and new world innovation. Another impossible repair? Rodriguez asked, joining her at the window. Sarah shook her head. No such thing as impossible, James. Just problems we haven't figured out how to solve yet. She turned to look at the next ship moving into position. Now, what do you say we go see what other impossible challenges are waiting for us? The station hummed around them, a testament to humanity's unique place in the galaxy, not the most advanced, not the most powerful, but perhaps the most adaptable. And in the endless expanse of space that made all the difference. Old ways, new problems. The maintenance corridor of Horizon 9's engineering training wing echoed with an unusual sound. Metal striking metal, a rhythm that would have been familiar in any Earth garage, but seemed out of place among the station's advanced technology. Sarah Chen stood watching as her newest class of apprentices, both human and alien, struggled with what she called Basics Day. This is primitive torture, growled Kexley, his forearms awkwardly gripping a manual wrench. The Varaxian engineer's scales shifted colors with frustration as he attempted to loosen a simple mechanical bolt. Behind him, his quantum-calibrated tools lay untouched, per Sarah's strict instructions. Keep working, Sarah said, hiding her amusement. Until you understand how things come apart and go together with your own hands, you'll never truly understand how to fix them. The training bay was set up like an old Earth repair shop, complete with mechanical systems that predated first contact. It was Sarah's most controversial teaching method, forcing advanced alien engineers to start with the basics of mechanical repair. Today's lesson: disassembling and reassembling a 20th century internal combustion engine. Chief Chen called Maya from the doorway. The Galactic Engineering Council representatives are here. They're not happy about the training protocols. Sarah sighed. She'd been expecting this visit. Tell them I'll meet them in my office in 10 minutes. And Rodriguez. She turned to her second in command. Make sure nobody touches their quantum tools until they've finished with the manual disassembly. The council representatives waited in her office. Three beings representing the galaxy's most advanced engineering societies. Administrator Vex of the Centaurian High Council, their crystalline form pulsing with barely contained disapproval. Director Jera of the Meridian Technical Institute, their holographic form flickering with impatience. And Dr. Cole, a synthetic intelligence specializing in repair protocols. Chief Chen, Administrator Vex began, their tone carefully measured. We've reviewed your training methods. They are concerning. Sarah sat behind her desk, noting how none of them had chosen to sit in the old Earth office chairs she deliberately provided. Concerning how? You're teaching outdated techniques. Director Jera's hologram flickered, making advanced engineers waste time with primitive tools. The Meridian Institute has developed protocols that are 99% more efficient. And yet, Sarah interrupted, ships still come to us after your protocols fail. Why do you think that is? The three representatives exchanged glances. It was Dr. Cole who spoke, their synthetic voice precise. Our analysis suggests it is merely a statistical anomaly based on. A warning klaxon cut through the air. Maya's voice came over the comm. Chief, we've got a situation in Bay 12. The Hegemony cruise ship's quantum core is destabilizing. Their automated systems are failing to contain it. Sarah was already moving. Come with me, she told the council representatives. Let me show you why we do things our way. They rushed to Bay 12, where a massive luxury liner's engine room was bathed in the ominous purple glow of an unstable quantum core. The ship's own engineers, along with their advanced repair systems, were frantically trying to restore containment. All automated systems have failed, the ship's chief engineer reported, his tentacles writhing with anxiety. The quantum matrices are collapsing. Standard protocols aren't working. Sarah watched as her apprentices arrived, led by Rodriguez, including Kexley, still carrying his manual wrench. What do you see? She asked them. The aliens hesitated, but one of her human students, Lisa Chen, no relation, stepped forward. The quantum stabilization looks like a cascade failure, similar to what happens in old hydraulic systems when. She stopped, eyes widening. Chief, what if we treat it like a pressure problem? Good. Sarah nodded. Kexley still got that wrench. Understanding dawned in the Varaxian's eyes. The quantum core's containment system, stripped of its advanced technology, was essentially a pressure vessel. The principles hadn't changed in centuries. What followed was a symphony of old and new, manual valves being adjusted while quantum fields were realigned. Sarah's apprentices worked seamlessly, applying ancient engineering principles to bleeding-edge technology. Where automated systems saw only failure cascades, they saw patterns that any Earth mechanic would recognize. Within 20 minutes, the core stabilized. The purple glow faded to a healthy blue. The ship's engineers stared in amazement as Sarah's team began running diagnostics using a combination of quantum scanners and old pressure gauges. Impossible. Director Jera whispered. The protocols clearly stated. That's your problem. Sarah turned to the council representatives. You've forgotten that protocols are based on principles. Every piece of technology, no matter how advanced, follows the same basic rules of the universe. When your automated systems fail, when your protocols run out of options, you need engineers who understand those basic rules. She gestured to her apprentices, now running final checks on the quantum core. That's why we start with the basics. That's why we make them use their hands before their quantum tools. Because sometimes, saving a ship doesn't require the most advanced solution. It requires understanding what's really happening. Administrator Vex's crystalline form shimmered thoughtfully. Your methods are unconventional, Chief Chen. But the results? They paused, observing the now stable quantum core. Perhaps there is something to be learned from the old ways. That's all we're trying to teach, Sarah said. Not to replace advanced technology, but to understand it. To see the simple patterns in complex systems, because when everything else fails, those basic principles never do. Later, watching her apprentices return to their training bay, now with a new appreciation for their primitive lessons, Sarah reflected on humanity's unique role in galactic engineering. They weren't the most advanced species, but they remembered what it meant to start from scratch, to understand technology from the ground up. Back to the engine, she called to her students. And this time, I want you to tell me how those same principles we just used apply to quantum mechanics. The sound of wrenches and tools resumed, but now with a different energy. Even Kexley handled his wrench with new respect, his scales shifting to the deep blue of comprehension. Sometimes, Sarah knew, the best way forward was to remember where you started. In the distance, more ships appeared, drawn to Horizon 9's growing reputation. Each one carried new challenges, new problems that would require both the latest technology and the oldest wisdom. And Sarah's apprentices would be ready, armed with an understanding that went beyond mere protocols. They would know how things worked at their very core. The crisis. The first warning came from Station Horizon 9's long-range sensors, a massive solar disturbance that made Sarah Chen's coffee ripple in its cup. She was in the middle of her morning briefing when the station's AI cut through all communications channels. Alert. Class X solar event detected. Estimated arrival time, 43 minutes. Sarah was already moving before the announcement finished. Rodriguez, get me a count of all ships currently docked or in our repair queue. Maya, I need a full assessment of our shield capacity. The observation dome offered a clear view of the impending disaster. The local star, normally a steady blue-white beacon, was erupting with unprecedented violence. Streams of plasma, visible even at this distance, reached out into space like burning fingers. 67 ships docked, Rodriguez reported, his fingers flying over multiple holographic displays. Another 32 in the queue. Chief, our shields weren't designed to handle something this big. Maya's voice crackled over the comm. Shield analysis complete. Even at maximum power, we'll only deflect about 60% of the radiation. The electromagnetic pulse alone could fry half our systems. Sarah studied the array of ships surrounding their station. Vessels from dozens of species, each with their own shielding technology. Some highly advanced, others barely functional after their long journeys to reach Horizon 9. None of them designed to withstand what was coming. Get me a channel to all ships, she ordered. The familiar buzz of a multi-species transmission filled the air. This is Chief Engineer Chen. We have approximately 40 minutes before a massive solar event hits us. Any ship capable of faster-than-light travel should evacuate immediately. She watched as several vessels detached from their docks, disappearing into the safety of hyperspace. But most remained, too damaged to flee, their crews trusting in human ingenuity to protect them. Chief, Kexley rushed into the command center, his scales flickering between emergency colors. The quantum generation labs on level 7 have an idea. They'd been working on theoretical shield harmonics. We don't have time for theoretical. Sarah cut him off. We need. She paused, her eyes catching sight of an old Earth textbook in her office, one about the fundamental principles of electromagnetic fields. We need to think simpler. Get me the Zalthuri captain on comms. Captain Zural's crystalline form shimmered onto the main screen. Chief Chen, we stand ready to assist. Your crystal technology, Sarah said, ideas forming rapidly. It can refract and redirect energy, correct? Yes, but. And the Meridian ships, she continued, switching channels to address their captains. Your phase shift technology allows you to exist slightly out of sync with normal spacetime. Correct, came the reply. However, our systems are not powerful enough to. They don't need to be. Not alone. Sarah's fingers flew across her console, pulling up schematics of various shield technologies. Listen carefully, everyone. What we're about to do has never been attempted before. The next 30 minutes were a blur of activity. Sarah's team coordinated with engineers from every docked ship, creating an improvised defense grid that combined dozens of different technologies. The Zalthuri vessels arranged themselves in a crystalline pattern around the station, their living hulls programmed to refract the incoming solar energy. Meridian ships positioned themselves at calculated intervals, their phase shift fields creating safe pockets of space-time. "This is madness," one of the alien engineers protested. "These systems were never designed to work together." "That's exactly why it will work," Sarah replied, making final adjustments. "We're not forcing them to integrate. We're letting each technology do what it does best, working together in harmony." She turned to her apprentices. "Remember those old Earth experiments with prisms and lenses? How simple glass could split light, focus it, redirect it? That's all we're doing here, just on a much bigger scale." The solar storm hit like a hammer of light. The first wave of radiation slammed into the Zalthuri crystal ships, their hulls lighting up like a constellation. But instead of trying to block the energy, they split it, redirected it, each crystal vessel acting like a massive prism. The refracted energy flowed into the patterns created by the meridian phase shift fields, dissipating harmlessly into the pockets of altered spacetime. Warning alarms blared throughout the station as systems strained against forces they were never designed to handle. Sarah's team worked frantically, adjusting shield harmonics, redirecting power, using every trick they'd learned from centuries of human engineering. "The Diraxian ship's containment fields are failing," Rodriguez shouted over the chaos. "Reroute power through the old electromagnetic generators," Sarah ordered. "Sometimes the simplest technology is the most reliable." For 20 heart-stopping minutes, Horizon 9 and its fleet of damaged ships stood against the fury of a star. When the storm finally passed, leaving them in an eerie quiet, Sarah looked out at their improvised defense grid with pride. Not a single ship lost, not one crew member injured. "How?" asked a Meridian captain, their holographic forms still flickering with residual energy. "How did you know this would work?" Sarah smiled, thinking of all the times humanity had faced impossible odds with nothing but ingenuity and basic principles to guide them. "Because we remember what it's like to be vulnerable, to have to work with whatever we have on hand. Every species here developed their technology to solve specific problems. We humans, we learned to solve problems with whatever tools were available." She watched as her apprentices began the process of standing down from emergency protocols, each of them now understanding a little better why she insisted they learn the old ways alongside the new. "The greatest engineering achievement in your civilization's history," a synthetic intelligence observer noted, "and you based it on the principles of simple glass prisms." "Sometimes," Sarah said, picking up her now cold cup of coffee, "the most advanced solution is remembering the basics. Everything in the universe follows the same fundamental rules. Understanding those rules, really understanding them, means you can solve any problem, no matter how advanced the technology." As the fleet began to return to normal operations, Sarah could see the change in how the alien engineers looked at her team. They had witnessed firsthand why ships traveled across the galaxy to reach this human-run station. Not because humans had the most advanced technology, but because they understood something more valuable: how to make any technology work, no matter how primitive or advanced, by never forgetting the basic principles that govern them all. "Chief," Rodriguez called out, "we're getting new arrival requests. Word of what happened here is spreading fast." Sarah nodded, already thinking about the next challenge. Because that's what humans did best. They faced the impossible with nothing but understanding, ingenuity, and the accumulated wisdom of every problem they'd ever solved. Innovation under pressure. In the weeks following the solar storm, Station Horizon 9 became more than a repair facility. It transformed into an unprecedented laboratory of interspecies engineering. Sarah Chen stood in what had once been a standard repair bay, now converted into a collaborative workspace unlike anything in the galaxy. Engineers from a dozen species worked side by side, combining technologies that conventional wisdom said were incompatible. "Look at this," Maya called out, pointing to a holographic simulation. She stood with a group that included a Zalthuri crystal tech specialist, a Meridian phase shift expert, and 2 human apprentices. If we adapt the crystalline refraction principles we used during the storm, but on a smaller scale. Sarah watched as her team did what humans had always done best. They learned, adapted, and combined ideas in ways their original inventors had never imagined. The solar storm had proven that different technologies could work together, and now everyone wanted to understand how. Chief Chen, Kexley approached, his scales shimmering with excitement. The Synthetic Intelligence Collective has analyzed our shield combination data. They say it should have been impossible. Impossible is just another word for hasn't been done yet, Sarah replied, a phrase her grandmother had often used in her old Earth garage. What else did they say? They want to understand how we knew it would work. I tried explaining about your basic principles approach, but a commotion from the main repair bay interrupted them. Sarah hurried over to find a tense standoff between a Diraxian engineer and a Hegemony technical team. Between them sat a damaged quantum drive unlike anything she'd seen before. The containment protocols are incompatible, the Diraxian was saying, his tentacles writhing in frustration. Our technology cannot interface with. Stop, Sarah commanded, stepping between them. Tell me what we're looking at. The Hegemony engineer gestured to the drive. A hybrid quantum drive. We attempted to combine our phase induction technology with Diraxian containment fields, inspired by what happened during the storm, but the systems are rejecting each other. Sarah studied the drive, seeing not the advanced technology, but the basic principles at work. You're trying to force them to become one system. That's not how we protected the station. We let each technology do what it does best, working in harmony rather than trying to merge them. She turned to her apprentices. Lisa, remember that old Earth experiment with the tuning forks. How one could make another vibrate at the same frequency without touching it. Lisa's eyes lit up with understanding. Resonance. We don't need to connect the systems directly. We can use their natural frequencies to create a bridge between them. What followed was a masterclass in human problem solving. Sarah's team approached the hybrid drive not as an advanced piece of technology, but as a collection of basic forces and principles. They set up old-fashioned oscilloscopes alongside quantum scanners, using simple wave harmonics to understand the complex interactions between different alien technologies. See here. Sarah pointed to a wave pattern. Your containment field oscillates at a frequency that's almost perfectly out of phase with the induction field. Instead of fighting that, we can use it, like two dancers moving in counterpoint. Hours turned into days as word spread through the station. More alien engineers brought their technologies, eager to see how humans would approach their integration challenges. The repair bay became a melting pot of ideas, where advanced alien science met human intuition and basic engineering principles. It's like a universal translator. Rodriguez observed one evening, watching teams of aliens and humans working together. But instead of translating languages, we're translating technologies. Sarah nodded, thinking of how far they'd come. On one bench, a team was using principles from Earth's old internal combustion engines to solve a problem with antimatter containment. Nearby, another group applied lessons from primitive radio waves to enhance quantum communications. Chief, Maya called out, I think you need to see this. In the testing chamber, they had successfully combined technologies from 5 different species into a single functioning system. The hybrid drive hummed with power, each component working in perfect harmony with the others. But what made Sarah smile wasn't the technical achievement. It was watching alien engineers using manual wrenches alongside quantum tools, finally understanding that both had their place. We've been thinking about technology all wrong, one of the synthetic intelligence observers commented. We saw it as a linear progression, each advancement making previous methods obsolete. But you humans, we remember where we came from. Sarah finished. Every step of the journey taught us something valuable. Sometimes the oldest solutions work best, even with the newest problems. The success at Horizon 9 sparked a revolution in galactic engineering. Ships arrived not just for repairs, but for upgrades that combine technologies in ways never before imagined. Sarah's apprentice program became a model for a new kind of engineering education, one that taught both advanced theory and basic hands-on skills. "You know what the real breakthrough was?" Sarah asked Rodriguez as they watched a group of alien apprentices eagerly learning to use simple Earth tools. Not the technology combinations. It was getting everyone to understand that no single species has all the answers. Progress isn't about abandoning the old for the new. It's about understanding how everything connects. A warning light flashed on the main console, another ship requesting emergency docking. But now, instead of panic, there was anticipation. Every problem was an opportunity to learn, to combine different approaches in new ways. Ready for another impossible repair? Rodriguez grinned. Sarah looked around at her mixed team of humans and aliens, all of them now understanding that the most powerful tool wasn't the most advanced technology. It was the knowledge of how things worked at their most basic level. "You know what?" She smiled. "I don't think anything's really impossible anymore. Not when we work together like this." As she headed toward the docking bay, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come. Horizon 9 had become more than a repair station. It was a symbol of what could be achieved when advanced technology met basic understanding, when different species shared not just their tools but their ways of thinking. And at the heart of it all was humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy: the ability to see the simple patterns in complex problems, and the wisdom to know that sometimes the oldest solutions were still the best. A new understanding. 1 year after the Great Solar Storm, Station Horizon 9 had transformed beyond recognition. Sarah Chen stood in the newly constructed Grand Assembly Hall, watching as representatives from 37 spacefaring species gathered for the inauguration of the Galactic Institute of Fundamental Engineering. The irony wasn't lost on her that the most advanced engineering school in known space would focus on teaching basics first. "Hard to believe this all started with a broken-down Zalthuri warship," Rodriguez said, adjusting his formal uniform. As the Institute's newly appointed Director of Practical Applications, he'd finally agreed to wear something other than his oil-stained work clothes. "The opening ceremony starts in 10 minutes, Maya reminded them, her own excitement evident. She'd been chosen to lead the Institute's Materials Integration Department, focusing on combining technologies that were once thought incompatible. Sarah watched as Kexley led a group of new students through the hall. Her former apprentice, now a full instructor, had become the perfect embodiment of their teaching philosophy. His 4 arms carried both quantum diagnostic tools and traditional mechanical instruments with equal reverence. "Chief Chen," a familiar crystalline voice chimed. Captain Zero, his form now bearing the insignia of the Zalthuri Engineering Council, approached. "Or should I say Professor Chen?" Sarah smiled. "Still just Chief, some titles you don't want to give up." The ceremony itself was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. In the demonstration hall, teams of mixed species showed their collaborative projects. A Diraxian human group had created a new type of diagnostic system that combined quantum scanning with old-fashioned mechanical feedback. Meridian and Hegemony engineers demonstrated shields that adapted using principles borrowed from Earth's ancient Damascus steel. 5 years ago, the synthetic intelligence representative addressed the assembly. "We believed we had reached the pinnacle of engineering achievement. We were wrong. The humans showed us that true advancement comes not from abandoning the old, but from understanding the fundamental principles that connect all technology." Sarah listened as speakers from various species shared stories of how human ingenuity had changed their approach to engineering. The Centaurian High Council admitted that incorporating primitive diagnostic methods had improved their success rates by 300%. The Meridian Technical Institute reported that students who started with basic mechanical training showed superior problem-solving skills. But it was the practical demonstrations that really showed how far they'd come. In one corner, a group of students had rebuilt an ancient Earth internal combustion engine, then modified it to run on quantum energy while maintaining its mechanical simplicity. Nearby, others showed how principles from Stone Age toolmaking could improve the efficiency of antimatter containment. The humans have given us something more valuable than advanced technology. Captain Zero addressed the crowd. They've given us perspective. They remember what it means to solve problems with limited resources, to understand technology from its foundations up. This wisdom, combined with our advanced science, has opened doors we never knew existed. Sarah thought about how it all started, with simple repairs, with teaching aliens to use wrenches, with remembering that every piece of technology, no matter how advanced, followed the same basic rules of the universe. Now those ideas had sparked a revolution in how the galaxy approached engineering. The new institute would carry that philosophy forward. Every student, regardless of their species or technological background, would start with the basics. They would learn to use both quantum scanners and manual tools, to understand both advanced theory and fundamental principles. "You've changed how we see technology," a young hegemony engineer told her during the reception. "We used to think progress meant leaving the past behind. Now we understand that true innovation comes from building upon it." Sarah watched as teams of aliens and humans worked together in the Institute's workshops, sharing knowledge that spanned centuries and light years. The old barriers between advanced and primitive technology had dissolved, replaced by an understanding that every tool, every technique had its place. "Chief," Maya called out, "we're getting reports from the outer sectors. The hybrid repair techniques we developed, they're saving ships that would have been scrapped a year ago. The accident rate in quantum shipping lanes is down 60% since we introduced the combined monitoring systems." But it wasn't just about repairs anymore. The Institute had become a center for innovation, where different species brought their technologies to be integrated in ways they'd never imagined. Human ingenuity, combined with alien advancement, was pushing the boundaries of what was possible. "You know what makes me proudest?" Sarah said to Rodriguez as they watched a group of students excitedly discuss combining Zalfuri crystal tech with principles from Earth's fiber optics. "We didn't just teach them our technology. We taught them our way of thinking." The galaxy was changing. Ships still came to Horizon 9 for repairs, but now they also came for upgrades that combined technologies in revolutionary ways. The station had become a symbol of what could be achieved when advanced science met practical wisdom. "There's a ship coming in," Rodriguez said, checking his communicator. "Some kind of new drive system they say is impossible to fix." Sarah smiled, thinking of all the impossible repairs that had led them to this moment. Around her, humans and aliens worked together, each bringing their own knowledge and perspective to solve problems in ways neither could have managed alone. "You know what?" she said, already heading toward the repair bay, a mixed team of students and engineers falling in behind her. "I don't think we use that word anymore. Not here." As she walked through the station that had become humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, Sarah Chen knew they had achieved something far more valuable than mere technological advancement. They had taught the galaxy to remember its roots, to value its history, and to understand that sometimes the best way forward was to remember where you started. In the end, that was humanity's true contribution. Not the most advanced technology, but the wisdom to see how all technology, from the simplest lever to the most complex quantum drive, was connected by the same fundamental principles. And in teaching that wisdom to the galaxy, they had changed everything.